Brigadier Vishnu Naidoo. Vish, thank you very much indeed for your time. Just give us the latest with regards to the arrests.
Morning, Blaine, and thank you for this opportunity. Yes, indeed, our police officers arrested 5 suspects for the killing of this 28-year-old man on Saturday in Polokwane in the Limpopo province. These suspects, unfortunately, they are children. They age between 15 and 16 from a local high school. They are to have brutally assaulted this victim, who subsequently succumbed to his injuries in hospital on Saturday. They are in police custody. They're expected to appear in the Polokwane Magistrates Court tomorrow on a charge of murder. So, yeah, it's a very sad story there. It's very sad that, our youngsters are getting involved in such heinous crimes.
Brigadier, you saying that all 5 suspects are from one school or various schools?
No, they're all from one school. I don't want to name the school at this stage, although I see in some social media posts people are naming schools. We just chose not to name the school at this stage.
Are we expecting more arrests?
Well, at this stage, the investigations will determine that. It depends how the investigations progress, because remember, this man was assaulted by a group of young people. So we identified, through our initial or preliminary investigations, have identified these 5 as being the potential suspects. You would also recall that one of the suspects took to social media claiming that he's the son of a police officer and that he cannot be touched, police can do him nothing. So that suspect is among those that are currently in police custody, and this is indicative that nobody is above the law. We cannot have a situation where people can claim to be above the law and expect to get away with such heinous deeds. So this is a clear message that nobody is above the law. The fact that we arrested him in such a short space of time, together with the other 4, and put them behind bars, is indicative that we will not tolerate such lawlessness.
Brigadier, did you manage to verify that claim that he is indeed the son of a retired police officer?
Yes, we did indeed verify that. He's the son of a retired warrant officer, a member who was part of the SABC band. It's also a very traumatic experience for this member as well as his family, because he apparently was extremely shocked and disappointed at what had happened. Our police officers have spoken to him as well. So, we're going to treat these 5 suspects, albeit that they are children, we're going to treat them as suspects because, the fact that one of them could take to social media and claim that he cannot be touched, by the authorities, is really very disappointing.
Brigadier, I guess one of the big questions here is the motive. What is the possible motive of the killing?
Well, generally, in acts of vigilantism, when groups or individuals take to commit an act of or a vigilante act, they normally suspect the victim of committing a crime. And this was the case here, where they say that the victim is alleged to have committed a crime, and therefore, he was, in quotes, dealt with in a manner that he was dealt with. So, of course, by any definition, vigilantism cannot be tolerated. It doesn't add value to society. It will certainly not add value to the grand economic strategy of this country. It only serves to bring about more chaos and anarchy in any society. So, so that's basically what is, what explanation is being provided to us as reasons for why this young man was assaulted and subsequently killed. So
we understand the suspects are aged between 15 and 16 years old. Just take us, Brigadier, through the process of arresting someone that is underage. Where are they held? Where are they detained? What's the process? How are they handled?
Well, remember, let me just start by saying, as grounds of justification, age is also can be used as a grounds of justification, where a child between the age of 0 and 7 cannot be held accountable for criminal acts, and between 7 and 14, the onus is on the state to prove that such a child had indeed committed a crime, and anyone above the age of 14, the onus is on the accused to prove his or her innocence. In this case, where we arrested the suspects, we arrested them. We still have, in terms of the Criminal Procedure Act, we have the 48 hours in which to finalize our preliminary investigation, so we are allowed to keep them in custody. But once they go to court tomorrow, because they are considered juveniles, the court will take a decision on whether they should be released into the parents' custody, whether they should be released to a place of safety. That is entirely upon the court. But we given that some of the information we have against these young suspects, we will, negotiate with the prosecutor and the courts to see how best we can dispose of the issue of, with regards to bail.
Brigadier, just give us some insight and our viewers some insight. When these suspects were arrested, what were their demeanor?
This forms a very critical part of our investigation. There was something said and some things done in the build-up to the arrest during the course of the preliminary investigation. We don't want to speak about that. I did highlight the one thing where one of the suspects took to social media to state that that he cannot be touched. But there were other things that came out during the initial investigation and the initial interviews with the suspects, which I do not think it would serve well for the ongoing investigation. So I think for now we will just reserve the right to comment on that, and we will let these kind of matters unfold in court.
Understood.
Perfect.
Brigadier, just tell us, with regards to the 72-hour activation plan, what does that entail?
Well, the 72-hour activation plan is a plan that forms part of the SAP's turnaround vision, whereby when a serious crime is committed, when we had this whole spate of cash in transit heists, police killings, or attacks on police officers, this is one of the other crimes that over the weekend, where the National Commissioner instructs the provinces to mobilize the 72-hour activation plan, meaning that critical resources like your crime intelligence, your forensic experts, the hawks, your detectives are all mobilized for a maximum of 72 hours to ensure that no evidence and information is lost, which evidence and information will be critical to the successful investigation of a case. Since we started to employ this strategy, we have in majority of the cases have arrested people within 72 hours, but by no means does it suggest that the 72 hours is a deadline time for arresting people. It is just a time that's allocated for those resources to be used to its maximum to gather as much intelligence and evidence to ensure arrest and conviction in any particular case, particularly a very serious cases.
Brigadier, I understand one of the suspects, apparently his face was revealed on social media. What sort of bearing is this likely to have on the case?
Yeah, well, that was, if I may say, for the lack of a better term, self-inflicting. Usually when minors are involved, we don't disclose their names, we don't disclose their identities. But unfortunately, one of the suspects, the one that I've alluded to earlier, that has taken to social media claiming that he cannot be touched because his father was apparently a senior police officer. So that suspect has revealed or disclosed his own identity. The video that was taken is I'm not so sure if your question revolves around whether the video will have any evidential value. It might. It will need to be tested in court. But of course, it's our responsibility to gather enough evidence and information, be it tangible in the form of statements, in the form of eyewitness testimonies, and so forth, to ensure either a conviction or if it works to the benefit of the accused, then so be it as well.
Community participation, you would agree, Brigadier, is key in giving police more information. Talk to us about this community policing strategy that was launched, I understand, last year. And, what sort of role is it playing in helping the police?
Well, firstly, let me start by saying, Blaine, community policing has been introduced in South Africa in the early 90s. And it's not something new to the police, it's not something new to communities. However, last year there was a reviewed and a revised strategy which was launched in Gauteng, which involved all CPF chairpersons from station, cluster, provincial and national level that came together. And we've also introduced something new, which is a community in blue concept, where people are identified by community structures to assist the police, like how you had previously neighborhood watches, but this is a community in blue. We also empower them. We assist in their training. We get sponsorships so that they can get this blue uniform, so that they can be identified as ambassadors and as working very closely with the police. And this advocates active citizenry, where the participation of communities in the fight against crime becomes every individual's responsibility. So we on a continuous basis encourage public and community participation in our efforts, both primarily to prevent more than to combat crime and to investigate crime. So if we can prevent crime, then the resources for combating and for the reactive approach in terms of investigation can be minimized, and then we can focus our attention more on other developmental aspects of crime combating.
Brigadier Vishnu Naidoo, police spokesperson, well, rather the spokesperson for the National Police Commissioner. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Yes?
Thank you very much, Blaine.